Bianca Miller is an award-winning entrepreneur, having started the B Group in 2012 with the belief that all individuals should be able to access personal development services. Bianca became known as a public face after an excellent performance on BBC business competition The Apprentice in 2014, where 10 million people watched her on a weekly basis for 12 weeks as she battled for the coveted prize of £250,000 and a business partnership with Lord Sugar. Bianca joins me on the Justeve show as she talks to me about her life and her new product that she has just done. Hello, it's that time again for the Justeve show where you know what we do. We go grab a cup of coffee, tea, whatever it is that we like to take at this time. Sit back and enjoy the next 30 minutes with me on the show. Today we have someone very, very interesting. I've kind of followed her journey somewhat, and I'm very excited to have her on the show today. She's been on The Apprentice, and she has come out with a product that is awesome. It's amazing for women. We'll be talking to her about that, her life, and so much more. You don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. You're welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is the Justeve show, and I have as my guest today Bianca Miller.
Hello.
Lovely to have you on the program.
Thank you.
And can I say you're looking lovely?
Thank you very much.
Okay, now there's a ritual that we do on this show. Mm-hmm. I say it all the time. I'm becoming a broken record.
Okay.
We go back to the beginning. Yeah, your childhood. What was that like?
My childhood was great. I was an only child, so
the spoiled one.
Well, I guess if you only have one, you can spoil it somewhat. Yeah. So I grew up very close to my parents, and they're still two of my best friends because of that. I think we had that closeness. And my parents, my dad was a property developer, an entrepreneur. My mum was a freelance makeup artist. So
that's where we got this from.
Yeah, yeah. So I grew up in an environment where having a business and being in business was kind of the norm. I didn't have parents who had a normal 9 to 5, so I didn't really know what a 9 to 5 looked like beyond what my uncles and aunties were doing. And so I guess I was always very entrepreneurial. Age 6, I started, painting paintings in my bedroom and selling them, to my parents, which was quite good money. Then at 13, I had a love of dance. I started teaching dance in a local school and getting paid to do that and employing my friends to help. Age 17, I wasn't really allowed to go out to clubs or anything, so I thought, how can I get out legitimately?
Why?
My parents are quite strict, and 17 is quite young, I guess. So I thought, how can I get out legitimately? So I started doing under 18s parties as a way of getting out there.
Very smart.
And making money. And then my parents said, can you stop trying to make money and actually concentrate on your education? So I, finished my education, did quite well.
Study?
I did, normal A levels, normal GCSEs and A levels, business, Spanish, English, and what else did I do? ICT, computers. Then went to university and did a business management and economics degree.
So that was always going to be that you were going to do business.
Yeah. I think that was the only thing that made sense to me. Doing a business, I didn't know what that business was. I didn't know what that business looked like, but business was the thing that I was passionate about. And so to do a degree in business seemed to be the sensible things to do.
Really? Okay. We'll come back to now, and then we're going to rewind. If now looking back, would you have wanted to do anything different?
No.
Oh, no. That's fantastic. Now, I have to say this.
Yeah.
You've made a first on this show.
Okay.
Because everybody that I've chatted with, they've done something totally different from what they went to do in school, what they wanted to do when they were growing up. So you're the first who knew that you were going to do business.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good. I'm happy to hear that. But I didn't know what that business was. I just knew it was business. My dad was like, go and get a job, go and work your way up the, career ladder, have the stability of a good salary, holidays, pensions, and all the things that come with that. But that wasn't for me. I wanted, to take that risk.
Okay, let me ask you this. Now, having seen your parents, do business, we can't run away from the fact that there are huge challenges.
Absolutely.
Those challenges that your parents went through, you didn't have them, they didn't scare you?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I saw my parents have great times where there was money, we could go on holiday, and I saw when there were bad times and there was no money and things were tight and things were hard and they were working ridiculous hours. I knew what I was letting myself in for business. My dad didn't want that for me. He wanted me to not have the stresses of every month thinking, is this a good month, is this a bad month, or whatever. But at the same time, there's something really beautiful about having an idea and seeing that idea come to fruition and being part of that business journey. There's some things about that you can't really understand until you do it.
Okay, so after uni, what exactly did you do?
Well, I finished university in a recession, one of the biggest recessions I think we've seen, and it wasn't that easy to get the sort of job that was kind of promised. You get a degree and the expectation is you come out and you get a job, a good job in the city. That wasn't there for a few months when I was applying and looking for jobs and going for interviews. And then I got a job as a temp in a company called Accenture, management consultancy company in the city, 190,000 employees worldwide. It was bizarre because just someone at uni called me and said, Bianca, we need a temp. I'm working here. Do you want to go for the interview? And on day one, I was suddenly HR advisor to 350 graduates.
Wow.
Having done one module of HR. So not really knowing what I was doing as such. But it was a great opportunity to learn a lot and really get involved in what that meant.
That's fine. Okay, now let's talk about the B group.
Okay.
Yeah.
So after working in the city, we had this thing where we were getting the best graduates academically. They were really smart, but they weren't great at presenting themselves, dressing appropriately, communicating, networking, and it was perceived that I was good at that stuff. So they said, Bianca, go and help them, basically. So I started doing that, and that's when I realized my love of helping people. So I didn't really like HR as such, but I loved being able to help people and looking at how to better their future. So I left there, went into recruitment, and realized it wasn't just graduates who were struggling. There were people of all ages who needed that help with that final polish. How to communicate, how to network, how to dress. And so I started the B group. So I was 23.
Wow.
And,
I feel so inadequate.
No.
What was I doing at 23?
I probably should have been doing what you were doing, to be fair. I was young and probably a little bit naive in that, there's this great idea. You start a business, it's going to be successful and you're going to earn X. And, it wasn't like that for the first year or so. I was getting great clients, but I wasn't getting enough of them to be as profitable as I would have liked. But at the same time, I was on that journey, and it's starting that journey that's probably the hardest. And, I had bills to pay. I had a mortgage, I had a flat, but you kind of just do these things sometimes. And
Okay, let's talk about The Apprentice.
Yeah.
What made you want to go on there?
I didn't.
Oh,
So
interesting.
I've always been a fan. I've always been a fan of The Apprentice. And I was about 2.5 years into my business. I was getting great clients. I was growing them. I was doing all the wonderful training and consultancy. And then my partner, a fiance, came home and said, Bianca, I think you should apply for The Apprentice. And I said, well, no, I don't really want to be famous. I don't want to be on television. I don't want to be scrutinized by 8 million people that watch the show. And I was scared, but then he persisted and sent me lots of application forms by email, text, WhatsApp and stuff. And I just thought it was an amazing opportunity to apply to something that 80,000 people apply for every year, to potentially win £250,000 and a business relationship with Lord Sugar, and to start a new business in something that I felt was missing in the market.
Yeah, that was a very, very smart move. Now, what was the process like?
Actually applying?
Applying, and how did you get shortlisted and all of that?
You apply, you go through some auditions. I can't tell you what happens, but you go through about 5 sets of auditions and meetings. And
so why can't you tell us what happens?
Because I signed a document that was about this big.
All right then.
But there's lots of questions and interviews and so on. And obviously they're looking for a certain set of people. Serious, unserious, business line, maybe not so much.
You fell into
the business category. I like to think. And it was just, when I got that call saying, Bianca, we want you for the show, there's that moment you think, oh God, this can either be amazing and could be a great opportunity, or I could get fired in week 1 and none of my clients will want to speak to me ever again.
Okay, let me interrupt you there. I watched a show a couple of days back where there's this young boy who is a musician and he had so many stuff on YouTube. And one very, very popular show in America called him and said, "We want you on our show." And when he picked up the phone and they said, "Hello, we're from da-da-da-da show," he hung up. Okay. Did you have those kind of feelings? Did you ever think that they would call you?
To be honest, I'm quite a positive person. So if when I got through that first audition, it was a whole day of auditions. I thought, okay, this is good. I got through. When they called me for the second one, I'm like, okay. But I still didn't know if it was going to happen. But I kind of felt that I need to prepare myself for that possibility. And it felt very possible. But it was also very scary. Like, do I actually want to do this? Do I actually want to be on TV? What happens after television? How is this going to change my life and my partner's life? It's scary.
And how did your parents feel about it?
They were probably the same. My mum was like, "Oh God, are you sure? Is this going to be the right thing? Television changes things. She's been in television behind the scenes for a long time. She knows what happens." And my dad was like, "It's a risk, but it could be really good. It could be really bad." They support me regardless of what I do. So they were just like, "Make your choice, and we'll support you."
Okay. And at that time, had you thought that you were going to do this?
Yeah.
So that was what you really wanted to present?
Yeah, so before I started my first business, I'd been in the city and not been able to get the right tights. And regardless of income, it had fluctuated from when I was 18 and couldn't get the right tights to when I was 21 trying to get the right tights with a salary. And still wasn't possible. And I'm not the darkest black woman, but it's not possible to get tights. And I had,
And can we just say that she's actually putting one on now, and I'm like, this is like her skin.
Yeah. And I had friends of varying ethnicity and they couldn't get it either. Even some of my white friends couldn't get the right shade. So why is that the case? We're in this day and age, how can you not get the right tights? So that was always my thing, but I didn't think I had the money, the knowledge, the inclination to make it possible. And The Apprentice gave me that opportunity.
Fantastic. Okay, we're going to take a quick break now. When we come back, we will be talking a lot about this lovely product that this lovely lady has produced. We'll be right back after this.
And I knew I wanted it to be from an English rose, Irish, really pale complexion all the way up to a beautiful Alex Weck type complexion. That was my ratio. It's unacceptable that we live in a scenario where you go to the shop and the underwear and the tights are one pinky beige colour. We're not all like that when we're naked.
You're welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is the Justeve Show, and I have as my guest today, Bianca. Welcome again. Okay, now we've been talking a lot about The Apprentice. Now, a lot of us, for some of us that know how television works, it's not exactly what we see. Do you want to share some of those moments?
Yeah.
Let's hear them. Yeah.
I mean, it's a tough job editing that show. There were days when we would be on a task for 4 days, and they would then, so that's something like 120 hours worth of footage, and they had to edit that down into 45 minutes plus the exit. That's a hard job.
And then you get the phone call at 6 a.m.
6 o'clock, yeah.
And you're dressed in 5 minutes.
You've got 20 minutes to get ready. And honestly, that's 20 minutes. That's not, that bit is real.
Because I was going to say, yeah, right.
Yeah, no, I got really good at getting ready in 20 minutes. I'm terrible now, but at the time, 20 minutes is all you had. You had to make it work. You had to have your clothes ready, your shoes ready, know what you're wearing, and, get on with it. But, it was really tough, and unfortunately they edit a lot on the side of entertainment as opposed to showing the business side of things, because it is a television show, but the business side was hard.
And I'm sure you must have been irritated a lot with some of your housemates and not getting the tax done. How was that? Were there particular tasks that you would have preferred to do?
I did all 12, so I had a great time with all the tasks. But there were times when people were really frustrating, they didn't get the task, they weren't really on board with working as a team. And a lot of people didn't see the bigger picture. In The Apprentice, if you work as a team, your team win. And if your team win, you don't go home. And not enough people saw that. Instead, they were trying to work as individuals. And as a result, if the team lost, they were on the firing line. There has to be a mixture of both. And so I think that was hard for some people to get and grasp.
And how was the boardroom for you?
It was, the first day I remember getting in that boardroom and sitting there and thinking, God, it looks like a television show. And then realised, oh, hold on, no, I'm in it. So, it is scary. And, you see Lord Sugar across the table, and regardless of how brave you are, he has a certain presence about him. And if he's telling you off, you feel it. So it's hard.
Well, surely he's not that bad.
He's very straight to the point. I like straight to the point people. I'm quite, I'm on the ball, but he's very straight to the point. If you're not ready for that, it can be tough.
Okay. Now, when you left The Apprentice, what were the first things that you did?
Yeah. So when I found out I wasn't the winner, I kind of had to regroup. I'd had time, it's pre-recorded, so I had time to think about the two different outcomes. If I'm the winner, this happens. If I'm not the winner, I need to be ready. And so I was ready. I had my website up so that I could take inbound email addresses, so that when I was ready to release the tights, I have my database there. And I just had to be prepared for everything that comes from television, the media interest, the speaking opportunities and so on. And so I just had my team ready. And you were working on the tights as well. I had a real keen interest in manufacturing here in the UK. And so I had to find a factory, I had to work with the factory to make sure the texture of the tights was what I wanted. So as you said, they're kind of a very kind of oiled leg look. That's what I wanted. I didn't want them to be so shiny that they're glossy or glittery, or so matte that it kind of looks a bit dusty. And I had to work hard to make sure that was just right. Okay,
funding for it. How challenging was that?
It was a nightmare. To be honest, I ended up funding it myself.
She's a rich woman.
No, I had to, I had to cut corners. I had to make decisions. I had to, use what money I had to make it work, because, not everyone understood the need. There were times when from an investor perspective, they want a store on board before they come on board. You can't get a store on board if you don't have a product. So it was a vicious cycle, and I needed to get in that store first to get that interest. It was my opinion at the time. And so I had to invest what I could to make it happen.
And you were personally involved in the process?
Yeah. I went to the factory, I chose the materials, I worked on the nylon to, whatever ratio, I worked on the packaging. So
how did you, because I'm amazed right now, you had ratio, and not that I know what that means. But how did was it research that made you know that, okay, this is how I want, since it's not been done before, to know that this is exactly how I want it, this is not how I want it? How,
It's a trial and error. It's a lot of kind of just telling them what I wanted. They've been in tights for a long time, but they were giving me their standard product. This is the gloss, this is the matte, and I didn't like either of them. I said, no, what I want is a combination of the two, and getting them to try out different combinations and giving me 10 different combinations, and I chose one of those. And then choosing the colours, making sure that we had 8 shades that were varying, great enough that each shade complements about 5 women. So that was the thing.
So how did you come about with the shades?
I looked at some, to be honest, I looked at celebrities, I looked at women, I did some research, and I knew I wanted it to be from an English rose, Irish, really pale complexion, all the way up to a beautiful Alex Weck type complexion. That was my ratio. And so I knew I needed to have that range, and that's kind of how I did it.
Okay, and where did you start selling them for,
Online, on our website, on our own website,
Okay, the first week that it went online, what was the response like?
We had 36,000 people on the website.
Are you serious? No.
Yeah.
So how did
36,000 people didn't buy.
Yeah, no, I know, 36,000 people. So how did you drive traffic there?
as you do when you're on a budget and you're starting a business, you use what you can. And a lot of it was social media, and a lot of it was obviously that database I collected when The Apprentice ended was a few thousand, and then a lot of it was Facebook, Twitter, people who believed in the idea that nude wasn't one shade. Nude needed to be about a variety of different women and their skins and how beautiful that is, and redefining what nude means to the common man. It's unacceptable that we live in a scenario where you go to the shop and the underwear and the tights are one pinky beige colour. You know, we're not all like that when we're naked. And so I wanted to redefine what that meant. And so a lot of people are really supportive. It's been amazing. The feedback, people love the product, and that's how it grew.
And you have some fantastic news to tell us about this product.
But yeah.
Oh yeah, go on and tell us.
What is it? Yeah, we're now in store in Selfridges. And
can you hear that?
Yeah,
that is amazing.
It is.
Well done.
Do you know, if I'm totally honest with you, it's something you dream about when you think about a brand, having a fashion brand, having your name up in, lights, so to speak, in Selfridges. That's kind of the end goal. And I didn't think that would be our first store, because I never in my wildest dreams thought someone like Selfridges would get it straight away and not want all the big amount of money on the media or on the marketing. But actually, I went to other department stores in the UK and said, we've got this idea for nude hosiery. And the response was, oh, well, do black women buy tights? Don't all white women want to be tanned?
Really?
They didn't get it. And there was a point where I thought, am I doing the right thing? If so many people say to you that no one's going to buy it, then am I on the wrong path? And it was when I went to Selfridges and I said, this is the concept. They'd never watched The Apprentice. They didn't know who I was. And I went there and I pitched them, and they were like, yeah, makes sense. We've got a diverse customer base, yeah. And it was like, oh, okay. So it's that sometimes in life things happen for a reason, or most of the time I believe it happens for a reason, and they were there.
I think it's more of your resilience.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, like you would have said, would have given up, like, oh no, I don't have the energy with this. And of course your background of being in business from, from a very young age.
Yeah.
Well done.
Thank you.
Well done. I'm really proud of you.
Thank you.
Really, really proud of you. Unfortunately, time is never a friend. I'm having so much fun talking to you today. But let me say thank you very much for coming on the show. But just before we go, look in that camera and tell the young ones something.
Okay.
Anything you want to tell them, especially the young ones who are struggling out there. In our present day, especially in the UK, things are so hard, and young ones are finding it very difficult to find their feet. So I'm sure you have something to say to them.
I mean, if you have a dream, if you have an idea, you need to work on making that a reality. And the problem with a dream is most people have a dream that's in their imagination, and actually you need to make that a reality by writing it down on paper, getting the advice you need, being innovative, and being willing to put in the time, effort and energy to make it real. When I started my business, I didn't know whether everyone would be there waiting for it to go in stores, but I made it happen. Just make it happen.
Thank you so much, Bianca, for coming. Let's have a lovely hug.
Oh,
thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that's our show for today. We've had so much fun. I'm sure you have too. If you have any questions, visit our website, visit our Facebook page, Twitter, Instagram. We'll do this again sometime soon. I remain Evelyn Obahor. Goodbye and God bless.